The Nigerian Football Federation (NFF) has confirmed the appointment of Eric Schell as the new head coach of the Super Eagles. The 47-year-old Sekou Schell from Mali is the first non-Nigerian African to coach the Super Eagles and caught the attention of Nigerian supporters and NFF when he led Mali to the quarterfinals at the AFCON 2023. Schell's managerial career reflects a record of 67 wins, 40 draws and 41 losses, giving him a win percentage of 45.27%. Schell will also be in charge of Nigeria's team at the 2024 African Nations Championship. He takes over a Nigerian team at the risk of not qualifying for the 2026 FIFA World Cup. The three-time African champions are currently fifth in the Group C of the qualifiers, winless after 4 games. This and more will form our discussion on the program, Nigeria Today. Thanks for joining us. I am Ikaria Clinton. Welcome. For today's conversation, I have with me Abiola Shodia. He's a sports journalist and the coordinator, Sport Integrity Foundation. Good to have you on Nigeria Today.
It's nice to be here.
And also with us here in the studio is Pius Idoko. He's a Abuja-based journalist and NFF stadium announcer. It's good to have you here.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Now, I'll start with you, Abiola. Now, what is your view on the appointment of the first African coach for the Super Eagles?
Well, I think it's a bold one from the Nigeria Football Federation. A lot of thoughts might have been gone into the process, of course, after the recommendation of the technical department. This is a young coach, you know, who plays enterprising football, and we are looking to go in that direction. Remember the Africa Cup of Nations, despite the fact that Nigeria got to the finals, Nigerians complained that they did not particularly enjoy the kind of football Nigeria played. And for Schell, it's like a breath of fresh air. We saw him at the Africa Cup of Nations. His team was a daring team, a risk-taking team, playing beautiful football with young players. And I think if he could do that with Mali, considering where Mali was coming from at that point in time, at the previous AFCON, they were eliminated in the round 16. He got them to the quarterfinal. You know, they were almost on the verge of qualifying for the semi-finals. So with the strength of the Nigerian team, the quality, the profile of our players, I think the world is at his feet, so to speak. So I think it's a good one.
Okay, that's for you, Pius. With our pedigree as a footballing nation, both in Africa and the world, would you say that Schell is the best fit for us right now?
Well, it's a very difficult question and a tricky one, I must say. Yeah, Eric Schell, you know, judging by his pedigree and what he did at the last Africa Cup of Nations with Mali, yeah, you want to say, yeah, he doesn't have the best of resumes, as it were, but by what he did, he took Mali, it's very obvious that Mali doesn't come close to Nigeria when it comes to African football. Nigeria is ranked, is head and shoulder high above Mali when it comes to global football at this point. But we saw a coach who came and he just brought something very different into the Malian national team. They played a very beautiful piece of football. Their first game was against South Africa, and before the game against South Africa, coming from, or rather judging by their rankings on the continent, you obviously want to say South Africa should be able to outwit Mali in the first game they played at last year's Africa Cup of Nations. But indeed, Schell brought something very different, and they were able to outrun the South Africans 2-0. Nobody saw that coming. That actually gave a lot of people the belief that Schell has brought something very different to the African football. And then he went on to draw Tunisia as well as Namibia, the quarterfinals or the knockout stages. He also defeated Burkina Faso, then narrowly missed out to qualifying to the semi-finals. Of course, it was a very resolute team that they played against, talking about the Ivorians. And so from everything he did, and like I said, he doesn't have the best of resumes, but his tactical savvy and everything he brought into the game at the last Africa Cup of Nations sold him out. It clearly shows that this man is bringing something very different. He's changing the narrative of African football. He's not just doing it for Mali. I think he's bringing a lot of competitions among coaches on the African continent as well. So I think right now, yes, his appointment brought mixed reactions from different quarters. It divided opinions. Some people were enraged. Others were very calm and looking very positive towards what these French Malian will be bringing into the Nigerian national team. So I want to believe that if he's given the right kind of support, if he's given the enabling ground to also do what he has upstairs, and if the players will rally round behind him to give him to give him that support, to give him the best out of them, I want to believe that Eric Schell will be turning around the fortunes of Nigerian football for good.
No, having said that, would you say Nigerians are particularly, excited about this new appointment?
His appointment, well, like I said, his appointment divided opinions. Some people were particularly not so happy about him. The fact that he has not achieved anything tangible when it comes to global football. But then it also brings this awakening to me. I said, it doesn't really matter if he has done anything. We're looking at the present. We're not looking at the past. I like to cite this example. I know a coach, he's a European, Zinedine Zidane. At some point, Zinedine Zidane wasn't a coach that had the kind of pedigree that should coach a team like Real Madrid. As a matter of fact, he was with the B team of Real Madrid. And when he was given the chance, he has set a record that no coach has been able to beat. No coach has broken that record, winning the Champions League back to back to back on 3 consecutive occasions. That is what sometimes you really do not know what these people are capable of doing until you give them the opportunity. Carlo Ancelotti, I also like to use him as an example. At some point, with the pedigree he has coached some of the finest, the best teams in the world, from AC Milan to Bayern Munich to Chelsea to name them. He went to Everton, thought he could revive the excuse me. He thought he could revive the fortunes of that club. But what happened? They went down. They were swimming in the relegation zone, up until an opportunity came for him again to join Real Madrid, and we could see exactly what happened. So sometimes it is what is available for you that will make you to become outstanding. The crop of players, the talented crop of players that he's going to have at his disposal will definitely make him to excel.
Thank you very much. Now back to you, Abiola. Ours is, will I say, a star-packed team, and with stardom, comes a little bit of ego. Some have it in excess even in the team. But what would be your advice, to this new coach in terms of, handling, the so much stars we have in the team? Of course, you can't, like he rightly said, you can't compare Mali's team with that of Nigeria. So what would be your advice in handling these guys, with their ego and all of that, especially in the locker room?
Well, first and foremost, the good thing is that Eric Schell played football professionally, so he knows exactly what it feels like, how it feels to be a footballer. So he understands the psychology of a footballer. So that's something. And also, I think looking at his trajectory during his time, his stint in Mali, one of the things that got him off the job was the little squabble he had with the FA, because he's a kind of coach that's big on discipline, professionalism, and I think there was a bit of interference from FEMAFOOT, the Mali Football Federation, and of course there was an issue concerning a certain Yves Bissouma, who was a bit unruly as a player. He was trying to instill discipline. And if you go back to Mali today, despite the fact that they could not get to the semi-finals at the AFCON, and some results. He only lost 3 matches in all. During his almost 2-year spell with Mali. If you go back, you sample the opinion of people there. They love him because he brought a breath of fresh air into their football. He was taking them into a big future. They could imagine, they could envisage, they could visualize. Everyone saw it that, okay, this man is different. This was a coach who beats the likes of Gonotro and Shafa, the former Cameroonian coach, to getting the job. So when he was let off the job, Malians, were not happy. Even till date, they are not happy with the FA. Despite the fact that they have a Belgian, Tom Saint-Fern, as the coach of the Mali, they say, we want Eric Schell back. That's to tell you the kind of man he is. And with the Nigerian national team, just like I said earlier, he's been there, he's played football, and I think he must have learned 1 or 2 things from his Mali experience. Now it's time for business. And I think there are 2 variables that would determine his success in the Nigerian national team. First thing, the fact that Nigerian players want to win. There's something there's an edge I think the Nigerian national team has over Mali, in terms of football. I haven't studied both countries. Nigeria, we have a higher mentality. The Nigerian player, an average Nigerian player, is big on mentality, has a tough mentality, strong mentality, while the average Malian player has, with all due respect, not as strong mentality as a Nigerian. So there's this push to win, yes, this desire to win. While in Mali, they might be a bit laid back, they might be a bit pampered. They have good players, established players as well across Europe. Eidara, Sinayoko, young players, some of them not mature enough, not experienced enough. Some of them feel like, okay, we are stars, we want to do this, we want to do that. So they just want to be kids. But in the Nigerian national team, we are more business-like. So I think that is an advantage for Eric Schell, because he's coming to a team, he's going to be in charge of a team where the players are big. You have the biggest stars in Africa: Osimhen, Lookman, Iwobi, Ekong, Bassi. I know these are players who knows what it takes to put on the jersey of the Nigerian national team, and they know every time they wear the jersey of the Nigerian national team, the demands from the Nigerian fans is to win. While in Mali, the expectation is a bit lower, and they are probably satisfied with the barest minimum. Like, okay, you are doing very well. So I think the mentality will work for him. The mentality of the Nigerian players wanting to win will work for him. And then something that might work against him is because the demands here of the Nigerian public, just like Pius said, we have a divided public at this point in time. Because, of course, even when Jose Peseiro came in, it was the same. Not until he was able to prove himself, and he did what he did. So the demands is different from Nigeria compared to what was obtainable in Mali. So at that point in time, Eric Schell, if you look at him, is a daring coach. He loves to take challenge, and he loves taking risk. And that is why he has decided to step into the ring and accept the Nigerian job. So I think the possibility with Eric Schell is huge, even though the task at hand is very, very difficult.
Thank you very much. Now back to you, Pius. He has said something, that he brought a breath of fresh air to Mali, taking them from, let's just say, from nowhere to somewhere, giving them that hope that initially they didn't have. Now, given that, working for him, which of course is the pedigree you talked about. Now, do you think that style of play he used in securing, a quarterfinal for the Malians? Okay, it took them to the quarterfinal. Of course, they could not secure the semi-final. Now, do you think that can work here in Nigeria to, give us the win we so need for the, for the World Cup?
Well, thank you very much. I think every coach wants to win. He's been saddled with a very huge task. and the responsibility here for him is to qualify Nigeria for the forthcoming the World Cup. So we have 6 games, and I'm very confident he's not ignorant of what the impending task is right now. Whatever his philosophies are, I think he's definitely going to upgrade whatever he brought into the game, he brought on the African continent during the Africa Cup of Nations. I think he's going to come up with something very fresh and new as well. We're looking at 2 different terrains. Like Abiola rightly said, the expectation from Mali and then the expectation from Nigeria. No Nigerian football fan that will want to see the Super Eagles lose to not even the best national teams around the world, not to the Brazilian national team, not to the Argentines, not to the Spanish or even the Portuguese national team. Nigerians are that passionate. And with that expectation, I strongly want to believe that Eric Schell is aware that what he's coming to face, or the task he's coming to take up, is a very, very difficult one. He's going to do everything possible to ensure he achieves success, and which is the ultimate for every coach that wants to carve a niche for themselves. So I strongly want to believe that we're going to see something very different from the style of play. And in the last few coaches that have been in charge, I think goal scoring has actually been identified as a major problem for our national team. Some of the players here, we score goals. It's not like we don't score goals at all. We do. But how many goals are we scoring? We play teams like Central African Republic and we're struggling to score. We play teams like Lesotho, we are struggling to score. Unlike the time past where we beat teams like Gabon 3-0, we play teams, the lesser teams, much respect to them. We play when we meet these teams, we beat them and we beat them well. 4-0, 5-0. I'm looking forward to seeing us going back to the days when we win convincingly once again under Eric Schell. Like I said, the Nigerian terrain is a different one altogether. It comes with pains, it comes with criticism, it comes with so much tantrums because the fans want nothing but the best. They absolutely, what they want is the result. However you're going to get that result, you must get it for them. And they do not want to, an average Nigerian fan on the streets really do not want to see the Super Eagles drop not even a single point to any team in the world. So with that understanding, I strongly want to believe that Eric Schell will be very much aware that the terrain he's coming into is not going to be a stroll in the park. It's something that is definitely going to be beyond the height of his imagination. And so he's going to come in with everything. I understand he's coming with 2 or 3 of his some expats, those that were with him during the Africa Cup of Nations in Mali. And so with that tactical assistance that will be coming from these ones, I strongly believe that it's going to be a very good call for Nigeria after all is said and done. We are most likely players. A lot of people are calling from different quarters. Why will you hire him? Why will you bring an African to come and coach a Nigerian national team? But somehow, by the time the result starts coming in,
what's really is it that we don't trust ourselves? Why would they be? Why would they query an African coming to coach the Nigerian national team? It's
something that is embedded in us Nigerians. Sometimes we even doubt our own coaches. We most times, Austin Eguavon was in charge a few months ago. He qualified the team for the next Africa Cup of Nations. When Austin Eguavon was given the seal of approval to continue to stand in as an interim manager, there were calls from different quarters as well saying Austin Eguavon has failed in the past. He doesn't have the wherewithal. He doesn't have the criteria. He's not a coach. He needs to go for an upgrade. These were the things that were coming from Nigerians.
I'll have to stop you here, Pius, so that I'll allow Biola to talk, really. Now, Biola, having watched the match, with the Malians play under the leadership of Eric Shell, and you've watched the Nigerian play in recent times, what areas do you think he should up his game if we are to achieve that goal we really need in the World Cup?
Well, I think scoring goals is that area, just by the fact that we have the materials. It's one of the things, just like I mentioned in my opening statement, Nigeria went to the Africa Cup of Nations with Osimhen, the then African Footballer of the Year, with Ademola Lookman, Kelechi Iheanacho, and scoring goals was a difficult thing. During the AFCON qualifiers as well, though we started well at home against Benin Republic, but then the goals dried up. Even a certain Boniface Jr., Victor Boniface, who plays for Bayer Leverkusen in Germany, scores week in, week out. When it comes to the national team, he can score. We can't create, we can't score. So, for you to win a game, you must score goals. And in the situation Nigeria find itself, we must win all our 6 remaining World Cup qualifying matches. We must win away from home. I think the NFF must have studied the result patterns of Austin Eguavoen when he was interim coach. He failed to win any match away from home. He drew Benin Republic away. We also drew to Rwanda. And these are the same teams we will be facing in the World Cup qualifiers. If you cannot win away from home, you can't go to the World Cup. So Eric Shell must know that the team must score. For you to win, you must score. One thing I've noticed in him is that he is a coach who loves to attack, more like a Samson Siasia kind of coach. Yeah. He loves his team going forward, even if it's just 30 seconds left on the clock. He wants to keep attacking. And now he is in Nigeria, where the materials, you have the best materials in Africa. We have Ademola Lookman, the reigning African Footballer of the Year. You have Victor Osimhen, the best African goal scorer at the moment. You have Boniface, you have Taiwo Awoniyi, quite a number of them. So what he needs to do is the attacking formula he used in Mali, which got them scoring about 45 goals in just 20-something matches. He should bring it to Nigeria. And I believe with the profile of the Nigerian players, there is that possibility that Nigeria can do better, because the Nigerian players, obviously, statistically, are better than the Malians. Okay,
now, Pius, yes. I was trying to avoid this particular question, but I have to ask you because you are from the NFF. He talked about one of the issues he had, Eric Shell, in Mali, talking about him being a disciplined coach, and people behaving. There a little bit of indiscipline there, and of course there was interference. Yeah. Do you foresee him having the same issue here in Nigeria?
Yeah, I think that was the major reason that informed the decision of the Nigeria Football Federation to bring in an outsider, an expatriate, sort of, even though we believe
he's an expatriate.
Whichever way we want to put it. So the present board of the NFF, led by Alhaji Ibrahim Musa Gusso, I think he really wants the best for Nigeria, and whatever will give Nigerians sources, the Super Eagles, our national team sources, is what he will always root for. I recall during the last Africa Cup of Nations, while we were preparing for the Nations Cup tournament, there were issues of interferences coming from agents, from some people, some of the big wigs.
But this time we don't want that, right?
Yes, they were trying to bring in, recommend, or suggest 1 or 2 players to the then national team coach, Jose Peseiro. And he was not the kind of coach you recommend players. I heard from different people said Jose Peseiro was a very stubborn coach because he doesn't listen to anybody. He does what he wants to do. Okay. And I don't see that happening with this man Eric as well. I strongly believe that he's still going to stick with his formula. He's going to stick with that discipline, because he knows that if he fails, the whole blame will come on him.
Thank you very much.
So he has to select the best of players.
Thank you very much. I really wish we had more time. But this is where we draw the curtain for today's episode of Nigeria Today. A very big thank you to Pius Idoko, Abuja-based journalist and NFF stadium announcer. Thank you so much for
Thank you
your time
very
and
much.
your contribution. And also we had here with us Abiola Shodia. He's a sports journalist and a coordinator, Sports Integrity Foundation. Thank you so much for your time and your contribution. And thank you for being part of the program. I am your carrier, Clinton. Goodbye.